This week on Consumed, I'm going to tell you what is really, really stupid. The term value. We're going to talk all about how you can change that, why you don't need to use that term anymore, and all the different ways that you can connect with consumers that shows the exact opposite of the word value. This is Consumed, the podcast for real estate agents who are tired of hearing the same old industry stuff and want to experience something completely different. Let's get into the main topic for today, which is one near and dear to my heart. I have to say that I traditionally tend to err on the side of caution when it comes to talking about things that can be interpreted as troublesome, right? Because again, there's a lot of things that I think we talk about on the show that are controversial or not part of the mainstream. But I'm going to give you one that is a giant pet peeve of mine, and I want to talk this week about how we can really meet consumers where they're at based on the feedback that I receive from them, and how we can engage with them in a much better and deeper way. And that is, we as an industry, on the whole, have to stop using the term value. Value is a dumb term. Here's what I mean. If you've been in this real estate game for even more than 5 minutes, at some point, maybe thousands of times, someone has told you, well, you need to show your value. What really matters to customers and consumers out there is showing them your value. Well, I want to make this very clear because it still boggles my mind when I hear about this. As a person in the business, as someone that works with consumers and for consumers, if I'm surrounded by people telling me all the time that I have to show my value, did you show your value? If you did something, it has to show value. Anything that you do has to show value. You go to a listing presentation, you have to make sure they see your value. Did you send them something? If you emailed them, that email has to include something of value. And, I get frustrated by this because behaviorally, if you tell someone 1,000 times during the course of the year that no matter what they're doing, they have to show their value, inherently what you're telling somebody is, you have no value. And because you have no value, you have to be creating all these different ways to show somebody that you have value. And in and of itself, fundamentally, I call bullshit on that. I just don't think it's very fair or an accurate depiction of anything related to what will serve a consumer in the long run. So let's dig in. Your value on the whole is derived by you as the individual and what you can do for and with somebody. I say all the time that I believe in our business, our job is to be of useful purpose and service to others. We are in a service business, and this notion that we are in sales is also complete BS. We're not in sales. I can prove it every time. Houses don't require sales professionals. They don't. And here's why. If you take a house, you put it on the market, and you put the price really low, what's going to happen to it? It's going to sell. So we're not in sales. It's not our job to sell the home. It's our job to be in a service-based industry, providing a service to the consumer to help them navigate the process, the challenges, make informed decisions, and be a supportive structure to them in a process, right? So that is one fundamental thing. So what happens from the industry perspective is that the industry makes all of its money, for the most part, by getting agents to believe that they need to understand the next great thing that they need to know in order to continue to remain relevant and be successful. And a lot of that is derived by explaining to people, here are the different ways that you show your value. And if you talk to consumers and ask them what they think is of value to agents, or about agents, what they'll most often tell you is their knowledge base. And so their knowledge base is a supportive function that helps improve the quality of service that they can give them, right? And their knowledge base and their experience is what comes into play during the course of the transaction. And that inherently is a value. But the problem is that when you're educated in the industry, you're being educated to show value the same way every other person you're competing with is being shown how they can establish their value or show their value. And, that shows up in a couple different ways. We see that when agents start talking about, well, when I send things out in my email, the email has to have something of value. So I can't just check in with somebody and say, hi, how are you? Because that's weird. If you ask an agent, why don't you just reach out and see how they're doing? Well, that's weird. Why? Being a human being is weird? Okay, fine. There's problem number one. the concept of having something of value is derived or driven into us by us having to engage with somebody in a fashion that is most often not really of actually any value. So agents are told when you reach out and send an email, that email has to have something of tremendous value. Example being, if you're going to email them, they need to know that you can do a property CMA for them so they know what their home is worth. Well, is that of value? No, it's not. Why? Because they can go to 18 different websites right now and get a ballpark idea of what their home is worth. Now, someone is going to send me hate mail right now, and they're going to tell me, well, Lance, but that's just not true because I know, and the Zestimate is always wrong, and the Zestimate's wrong. But when you go and look at 3 other sites and you can get a median of between those different 3 sites, we're now talking about something that I can get a pretty decent idea to what my home is worth. In fact, now with the benefits of AI, I will tell you right now, I can go into a chat GPT, I can put in my property and tell it to run a CMA and a comparative market analysis for things that are actively on the market. And I can tell it the parameters of what I'm looking for. And guess what? It does a pretty good job. In fact, based off of the research that I did, it gets within a plus minus of about 3 to 4% on average of property value in either direction. So again, we're getting pretty tight, and the science behind comping a property is not nearly as compelling as it used to be. But when we think about showing somebody value in what we do and how we operate, we're being taught and trained that our value is dependent upon what we can do for somebody. And most often now, that is something that is readily available. So I want to encourage you to think of it differently. I say that agents need to begin to show differentiation, not value. Why? We really all have the same value. At the end of the day, fundamentally, we kind of all have the same value. And, it's similar to when I talk to consumers and I say, well, are you interviewing agents because you're thinking about selling your home? Yes, I'm interviewing agents. And I say, well, did they discuss their marketing? Oh, yes. And how much time? Oh, they spent a ton of time discussing their marketing, all kinds of time in their marketing. And, it's interesting to me because when you dig in with a consumer and talk about that, what you'll typically find is there's a lot of time spent explaining the value and importance of that agent's marketing. And the reality of it is that's not a value proposition. It's just not. It's something that agents believe they need to explain because it shows their value. But the truth of the matter is, all I got to do is ask the consumer, well, you're thinking of buying another property. Where did you go to look for property? And what do I most often hear? Homes.com, Zillow, Trulia, one of the online portals. And I look at them and go, okay, well, my marketing presentation's done. It is, because at the end of the day, that's where the marketing is. That's where most people are finding your property, right? And so again, the game now isn't, oh, I can have you in the Beijing Times. I can, get the international buyer presence for you. That's not a real thing anymore. It's mostly now what I can do for you as the consumer that's going to help create points of differentiation so that you see that what I do and how I work with you is different than what you've experienced or what you thought of. It's incredibly important these days to have an opportunity to meet people where they're at, but also demonstrate to them based on their current needs, especially in a service-based business, where your differentiation lies compared to what their perception, their idea of a consumer experience would be within real estate. So let's dig in a little bit, because I think it's a very important thing that is dramatically shifting how we currently perceive our role in people's lives. I love talking to consumers about key points of differentiation based on their experiences and based on their needs. I don't think enough agents spend enough time talking to people about what their previous experiences with agents has been and understanding what they liked or what they didn't like. So some of the best ways to acquire differentiation and to engage and understand what differentiation looks like is by actually talking to consumers. It's to ask them the questions that we wouldn't normally ask them. Now, most agents will say, oh, great, I'll send an email to all my past clients about what they liked. Please don't do that. You see, your past clients are not a great resource for this information because your past clients you've already developed trust with, and they already like you. And honestly, they're going to lie to you. They don't want to hurt your feelings or say anything bad. So you need to talk to people that have never worked with you before, people that have no real understanding of what you do. And you can do this at a cocktail party, dinner parties, social engagements, while you're standing on the sideline at the kid's soccer game. It's part of small talk. Have that small talk and talk to somebody and ask them, hey, super curious. Have you worked with real estate agents in the past? And if so, like, what did you like about them or what didn't you like about them? And I promise you, people are going to tell you. They're going to tell you exactly. If they had a bad experience, they're going to tell you. If they had a really great experience, they're going to tell you. But understand the why. Ask the why. We want to know why they liked certain things. Why was it meaningful to them? Because when you learn these things, you're going to hear them say certain things like, well, you know what? That person did a phenomenal job driving us around the different parts and areas to show us key things that they knew based on conversations we had in the past that were really important to me. Well, okay, cool. That is a point of differentiation. And you're going to say, but Lance, that's the buyer's agent job is to show them. No, not when it's based specifically on things that they said were important to them. And what does this look like? You can now phrase this in a way to other people that you do personalized and curated town tours after people engage in a questionnaire to understand what parts of things are most important to them so that you can focus on those specific areas and meet those needs rather than, and on your left is the library, and on your right is the town baseball field. If you can curate that to things that matter more to them, that's a different experience, right? And when you structure this and learn from people, for example, my seller's guide and my buyer's guide, that for the people that I work with in my coaching practice and on my team, we engage with regularly because I don't really do listing presentations. I don't believe in traditional listing presentations because, again, from talking to consumers, they don't really care. That focus on differentiation is that buyer's guide, that seller's guide has specific points of differentiation scattered throughout it because I want them to see how I connect with them based on those needs. And all of those things were things that I learned from talking to consumers to understand that. So prime example would be, I heard from a lot of consumers that the idea of showings were really stressful for the kids because kids come home after school. The whole concept of moving in general for kids is stressful. But what came up very often was they would say moving is stressful on the kids and also the showings in particular because come home from school, they're doing homework, they're having snacks, or they're playing with friends, or they're zoned out on devices, whatever that might be. And then you're like, oh, kids, there's a showing. Okay, everybody get your stuff on. We have to leave the house for an hour. And it's a miserable experience. So what I figured out was, well, why don't we make them a part of it and then give them something exciting around it so that it becomes reward incentivized and helps mom and dad out and makes them excited by it rather than make it a negative. So with a family that I'm working with, I will find out what their favorite ice cream store or candy shop is locally in town. And then I will buy them a whole bunch of gift cards for the ice cream shop or the candy store. And then I give mom and dad the checklist. And the checklist is something the kids can put behind their door. And it has 5 things on it that they can do to help prepare for the showing. These are basic, really small, simple things. Pick up everything off the floor in your room. Make sure that your sink doesn't have like toothpaste all over it and stuff, and just wipe that off a little bit. Make sure there isn't stuff all over the countertops. Make sure that your lights are turned on. Make sure that your bed is straightened out. Real basics. And when they're done, they go tell mom or dad, done. And that way, when they hear the word showing, they run and go do those things. And when it's time for the showing, mom and dad take them to the ice cream shop or the candy store, and it becomes something cool, not something that is a big womp that nobody likes. Now, this is a point of differentiation. It's in my seller's guide, and it's part of the thing that I want someone to understand that I have enough experience in doing this to know the pressure points and the things that are going to be difficult for somebody. That's important because those things are the things that make someone hear, see, know, and feel that this person I'm talking to has had enough experience in and around this and knows how to make this process easier for us. And again, it's a small touch. It's not a big expense. It's not a big deal. But there are a dozen different things like this that I've incorporated into how I operate. Because we get, I think, horse blinders on, and we go to these trainings and seminars and different things and, all these, things out there with agents telling us consistently, oh, here's what I do that's made me successful. And, one of the things that I do that makes me successful is, you know, in my CMAs, I sit down and I go through the home and we talk about everything. And then I leave and then I process this CMA and then I come back with this special CMA that I've done and we go through and, and I'm like, okay, well, we kind of all do that. And what did I hear from consumers? Well, something I heard from consumers was that they felt like a lot of the things that they were seeing or experiencing when the agent would come back with a CMA was nice, but something that they kind of had already done part of, or they had seen a bunch of those properties already, or they knew of that stuff, or they already had an idea in their head as to what they wanted to sell for or what their home was worth. And it just instantly became this point of conflict. It was most often than not, okay, well, here's what I think your home is worth, says the agent. The consumer perspective is, well, I disagree. And now we're already in this conflict. So my thought was, well, why do I keep doing that then? So what I devised was a point of differentiation for me when I talk to people is I do live CMAs with you. I comp the property with you live time. I have a special program that I use, platform that I use. We pull it up on the computer together. We're looking at it together. We have a baseline pricing understanding, and we're going to pick the properties off of what's available, what's sold, and you're going to be able to look at those properties, look at the photos of those properties online. You can see all of this information. Now, what's cool about the platform that I use is that as they're picking these properties, or we're picking them together, the price of their home is changing live time. Because as they pick certain comps, it then is readjusting the price of their property. So what this does in turn is it does two things. One, it makes them part of the process because I focus on partnership with somebody. Two, it allows them to see that as a partner to them, I'm not going behind the curtain at all as to go pull out some magic numbers, because guess what? Comping's not that magical. It's not that complicated or difficult, or there's no some like spiritual awakening that you're going to have because, you go back and comp this property. And on top of that, what's most interesting is because they're participating in the process, when they're picking certain things and we're saying, yep, it's all right, boom, and the price of their property is changing, they're looking at lifetime information that shows them the reality of the market that we're in. Now, I'm not fighting you on this. This is data. It's just data and facts. So at this point, it's not an us versus them. It's not me fighting somebody over this. It's me allowing you to be invested as part of the process, as me as your partner, your guide, your Sherpa in this, right? To be able to connect with you at a different level and help you understand, here's the reality of what we do. So it stops the conflict that comes up around their opinion of what they want to sell their house for, my opinion of what I think it's really worth. And it really just brings it together into the data, into the reality of it. Now, some of you hearing this are going to go, oh, but Lance, well, I mean, you can't just do that. There's certain things that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course, look, there's unique properties that require specialty where you have to go out and find different subsets. I'm talking about 80% of the properties out there, not the random 20%. But honestly, about 80% of the properties out there on the platform and system that I use, I will tell you right now, the one that my team uses, we can get within about 2% plus minus either way, and then allow the consumer with us together to sit, take a look, and work through it. In fact, so much so I can send that report to them afterwards, and it has an embedded link that allows them to go through and pick other properties if they want to still keep playing with it to try and quote unquote game the system, or if they're just curious. And the reason it's important is because it allows people to make informed, educated decisions. And what I've noticed more than anything else is that when they're involved in this, let's say we comp this out and it says that their property's worth $850. And they're saying, well, we really wanted to try just over $1 million. Okay, well, you're seeing live data. What you can choose what you want to put your house in the market for. That's completely up to you. The question that then allows me to ask them is very simple and very straightforward. It allows me to say, okay, how long do you want to be at that price point, knowing what this says, right? Because we have discussed how that might create some stigma. It might create some problems for the listing. How long are you willing to test that long for? So again, different things that you can engage with them on that allows them to be informed, educated, and own the process. So these are why creating points of differentiation and learning from consumers about how you can better connect with them, show them things that matter, right? And and really make them a part of the process rather than you require this expert that I'm going to come in my fanciness and, tell I am a trusted advisor that helps you with this. Said no one ever, right? We have got to do a better job. We have to at helping people understand why working with us is so important as how we can help them better engage throughout the process. And it's what separates, I think, one of the big problems that I see from living in reality. Because the big problem that I see is that the industry continues to profit financially off of agents coming from a place of lack, coming from a place of a fear of belief that what they do isn't really truly necessary or valuable. So they have to continue to try consistently at demonstrating this constant need of why you need me. Look, the reality of it is that most consumers these days, they're engaged with us at the beginning of their home journey and the end of the home journey. And that's it. In between, you've got 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So there's other ways that we can get involved with people to help them better understand how we can help them in that and to keep connected to them. That has nothing to do with that buy-sell process. That's a very short period of time that you're engaged with somebody. So really thinking through points of differentiation and getting away from this term of value and my value. I mean, look, I see these things all the time. It's great ideas of stay connected to people and reach out to everyone at holiday time and tell them that you're putting together a cookbook of everyone's favorite recipes. Ask your past clients what their favorite recipe is, and then get all these recipes and you can put it into this book, and then you send them the book for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever. And, with all of your past clients' best recipe. Oh, God, stop it. Seriously? Stop it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay, yeah, like 3 people write you back. That's a great idea. I love that. Okay, 3 people. The reality is the rest of us out there in the world, are busy living life. And it's not really a thing. If you want to be someone that's helpful, productive, and useful to me in my life, if you want to be someone that I think about the things that are happening in my life as an individual. Think about the things that are going on and know that, by the way, I had reached out for an electrician about 6 months ago, and you gave me the number. Follow up on that. How did the electrician do? What did you do? Oh, you got a new hot tub? You had that put? Oh, there was problem? Oh my God, that's so horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, find out. Learn things about people. Put that in your CRM. Know things about what they like, what their kids are into, what they do for fun, what their hobbies are, what things matter to them, what their favorite car is. Those are the things that you can stay with people on and stay engaged in. Let them know that one of the things that you can be incredibly helpful with is if they ever think that they want to debate their taxes. There's something that we can be really helpful with. That's a point of differentiation. Use my skill set, my experience, and the people that I know to help you go dispute your taxes. It's easy, right? But that's meaningful to me, not the cookbook. It's like cheese platters with your logo on it. Stop, please, for the love of God. So I want to think more about this idea of differentiation moving forward. I want more agents to feel empowered to think of the different creative ways that they can demonstrate to consumers how they operate differently than what the typical expectation or thought is of a real estate agent. And I want you to feel confident and comfortable. And I'll give you some cool creative ways. These are little things that you can do that we don't think of. So super cool one that I've gotten tremendous feedback from, right? I started to see how many more people were engaging with Matterport tours. And what I see right now is really kind of shocking and impressive, and I love. So most people, on average, a consumer going through and looking at properties, if they're searching for property, they actually spend only about 12 to 18 seconds on a property as they flip through photos before they move on to the next. Even if they seem to have some interest in the property, they'll read a property description, but they'll move through things pretty quickly and then move on through the next. Properties that I've seen for the people that are part of my team and the things that I work on, properties that have a Matterport tour on them, get up to 8 times more engagement on them and length of time on property than just photos alone, including, and again, I want to be very clear, not these stupid video tours where it's like a carousel of photos, and that's not a video tour. It's amazing because that extended time within property means I've got you further interested in having a bigger and better and a different experience within the property. Now, the fact of the matter is, where I saw the biggest differentiation and something that I can bring to, and I do bring to some of the clients that I still work with and to the agents that are part of my team that I work with and coach, is when you utilize the Matterport tour, though, to put specific things and bullets on that tour that highlight things that people wouldn't really notice or focus on, it triples the engagement. If you put also cool things about town as a bullet on the front door of the property. So as someone's moving through the living room, there's the front door, there's a bullet, and you click on that front door and a pop-up comes with a video trailer that talks about 5 really cool things that you can do in town, right? Or 3 really cool date night ideas locally, right? Now you're enhancing something even further because you're changing the dynamic and offering, again, what you can do as the person who is aware of what's cool in the area. It makes your client happier because they're getting a better immersive experience on what that tour and what people experience when viewing their property. It creates tremendous differentiation to the consumer side that are watching that property. And what I love about this is when you do this, it brought me to the next experience, which was, we give people things for closing gifts and stuff like that, but I want them to have something that shows them that I'm there with them after we're done because I want it to have an investment in protecting the things that they care about. So what I started doing was I do Matterport tours because of the value to them. And again, the integration in homes.com and all of the ways that you can help promote the property are amazing and I love them. The best thing for me, though, is I do a Matterport tour for the properties that we're listing. And when someone comes in to buy the home, right, or I'm working with a buyer, I will gift them a Matterport tour after they've bought the home. And the reason I do that is I will pay to send somebody back 2 months after they've moved in, settled in, got all their stuff up. I gift them a Matterport tour as part of their closing gifts that someone comes in and does a full Matterport tour. Why? Because that's for insurance purposes. You see, when you do a Matterport tour of the entire property now, after somebody's moved in and has all their stuff there, they have a living digital record of all of the things. So God forbid if there was a fire, a flood, a problem, a tree hit the roof, whatever those things are. When it comes to your insurance claims and all that, it is so invaluable to get as much money back based on repairing, replacing of like, kind, and quality, all the things that are in a home. And you have a better sense of security knowing that I have this entire living, breathing tour of the property. Now, it's not public information. You can keep the link, and you can use that, right? I also do an introduction to a public adjuster because I have public adjusters that come and they utilize those in case there's a problem. And that's a separate podcast for a separate day. But that is a really simple thing. It's a few $100s to me, but it represents and shows to the buyer that I just represented, hey, here's something that I care about that we're going to set up after the fact so that you have something, God forbid, if something happens, that takes care of you. And also, most of my clients end up sending that tour to like their family and friends so their family can see the home they just bought. Like, it's actually kind of a cool thing. So again, these are different ways that you can better engage with people. But as you move into thinking about how you work with people, what is it that consumers want? Let's recap it. Number 1, consumers want to know what it is that you can do that is different for them. And it can't be something that most other agents can say, right? I do staging. Oh, okay, so do I. Do I do it for everything? No. But again, if someone said to me, Lance, I really want staging, sure, I'll get you a stager. It's not special or unique. So it has to have something that creates points of differentiation that allow the consumer to understand how you work in partnership with them. You got to stop using this term value because it doesn't really mean anything. And you should do everything in your power to learn from consumers, not your past clients, because they're not going to be honest with you, but learn from consumers at cocktail parties and different conversations you have to better understand what they want, what they need, what do they like? Do they hear from those agents anymore? How do they hear from those agents? Is it annoying? Do they really enjoy it? What matters? What do they want to be left alone? What would be things that they would like help with in and around their house? That's where I've learned so many of these different things. Because again, go back to the beginnings of the concept of consume. How many agent panels as an agent have you attended in your time in real estate? Tons. How many times agents on stage with their microphones and last year I did $18 billion by, posting 200 times a day on Instagram. We hear this all the time. How many of these things do we hear where we hear agent panel? How many consumer panels have you attended? I'll wait. None. Why? Because the industry doesn't want you learning from consumers, which is weird. It's so strange. I get it because it would eat into their profitability. But the reality of it is we work for consumers. We don't work for other agents. We work for consumers. So why don't we want to hear from the people that we work with all the time? This is an incredibly important piece for us to begin to lean into. Understand from the people that we serve what they want, what they need, and how they like working with us and what matters to them. So as you move forward in the next several months, begin to create a better plan for yourself to learn from people and then identify small pieces of how you can engage at a stronger and deeper level as you present to people what it is you do. And that goes across all aspects, your marketing, your YouTube channel, your social media, your conversations with people, right? Your listing presentations, all these things. So get creative. When you hear things in your office meetings, when you hear things out in the world from other agents, challenge that notion. If someone says, oh, I did mailers to this farm, go create a partnership with a local SPCA. You can do mailers, but do mailers of the Cute Dog of the Month Club. What adoptable dog of the month is available right now in the SPCA? And you can still have your real estate thing on there. You can still have that, but wouldn't it be nice to actually send out pictures of cute puppies? People like cute puppies. You know what they don't need? My just sold, my just listed. They don't care. They just don't. So get creative, learn from the people that we work with. And again, it's about being consumed.